We've all been there, right? The enemy line pulls out 7 Fingers of Death, AA lands the perfect ult, and Doom throws everything on you, and somehow the Morphling just refuses to die. Alright, let's be serious for a second. We all know what actually happens to Morphling most games. He hits 1 nuke and dies, he gets spawn camped by Sunstrikes, and he ends up on being Dota 2 WTF Funny Moments completion 8,746. What I'm about to show you is not just some YouTube clickbait. This is a genuine strat that I have used to gain well over 1,000 MMR in a pretty short span of time, I'd say. So I will be breaking this into a few different contents. The timestamps for everything will be on the screen now. Let's get into it. This build, just like any build, has particular strengths and weaknesses, and its weaknesses are pretty apparent and what makes it such a hard build to understand in my opinion. Morphling has -1 armor to start the game if he's playing at full strength, which you will always do for this. You don't use the cooldown reduction. And as a result of the -1 armor, he also has very low attack speed, as you can see. Thankfully, you do have a lot of HP, so you can offset this a little bit by having such a high HP pool. But yeah, this is a very big weakness. Now, the way to fix this in the early game is actually Orb of Corrosion. The reason being is it immediately gives you +3 armor. This fixes the weakness of having such little armor to the point where you're taking more than pure damage from right clicks. So this is super useful for the War of Attrition style of Morphling. Alright, let's jump into the items. So the starting items I always go for is Triple Branch Glove, and this is so I can get Corrosion as quick as possible. One is a good item, don't get me wrong, and it's very good for Agi Morphling in particular. But the thing with Strength Morphling is he can abuse Attribute Shift so well that you don't really need to recover HP at all. You get one in the lanes that they're good, like the Bristlebacks, the Lions, the Batriders, and etc. But you go this Corrosion, you go Treads, you can get 1 mana regen item, so that can be Bassi, that can just be Sage's Mask if you really want, or it could be a Falcon Blade if you're super far ahead. From there, you're going to go the Maelstrom, and then you're going to go straight Mjolnir. So you've built up a lot of attack speed at this point. This offsets the attack speed weakness. All you need is armor, and Blade Mail is the perfect item for this. So when you have these 2 items, turn on Mjolnir, hit Blade Mail, dive in on their team, and you will literally just end up killing everyone. So that was quite a bit of a ramble, but to make that a bit shorter, essentially you're always trying to get Corrosion, Treads, Mjolnir, and Blade Mail as a core item, and then from there it is completely situational. So based on the lineup that you're versing, you could be going AC against Drow, you could be going Eternal Shroud against magic lineups. It is completely dependent on what you verse, and it makes a huge difference in the outcome of your match. But I'll just let this build sort of sit on the screen here and you can see for yourself and use this as a reference anytime you're trying to understand when to build items. So there's 2 variations to the early game skill build of Morphling, and I'll also cover the talents. The first build is the 3-0-2, and then the second build would be the 3-1-1. So the reason you'd pick this up is if you're pressured and you're not supposed to win the lane. You are taking the window to shift from 100% agi to 100% strength and shortening it significantly. I think it doubles in value in the shift rate if I remember correctly, or it's something like this. It does make a huge difference if you're not supposed to aggress, you're simply just supposed to survive and farm. The second variation is when you take a point in strike because the enemy just can't win against your lane. Usually this is the case. You're a very, very strong laner. Or maybe you have a strong 5 which is enabling this. And in that case you take the strike and you leave attribute shift at 1 point. The talent choices are always the waveform range, this talent is just the default. You don't ever take the magic resistance. It is awfully tempting with a build like this, but you can just build towards fixing that. You can't get waveform range in any items besides Aether Lens, and that's not a very good item on Morphling. You'll take the 15 agi. There are some cases where you probably could take the 16 morph duration, but I'm not really going to discuss that in this video. Always the 15 agi, because you are taking all attributes from the all stats, and you're taking this 15 agi. You get a lot of attack speed by doing this, and some armor as well. The 20 is the toughest choice of this build. You have merit for both of them. You can take the stun duration, and you can take the 75 waveform attack damage in very different games. The way I will break it down for you is, if you're a frontline for your team and you're doing good consistent damage, but you're just surviving because maybe you've gone hard eternal shot, just get the stun duration and focus supports. Otherwise, if it's critical that you kill the enemy +1 very quickly, the 20 talent with the 75% waveform attack is probably better that game. I think a example I can give you is maybe an anti-mage. If you built Silver Edge and Daedalus, something like this, you really want to make sure if the guy gets stunned, he dies in one stun. And for the 25 talent, you take the 40% waveform cooldown every single game. The way you should look at Morphling, agi or strength, but particularly with this build, you're trying to stay alive for as long as possible and be annoying. Waveform lets you stay alive and lets you do so much damage, especially if you took the right side on the 20 talent. Okay, so coming up, I'm going to explore a concept that really most tanky heroes do abuse, like Medusa, Tidehunter, Bristleback. But it's very, very important that you're aware and you use and abuse this when you play the Strength Morphling. In just a second, Huskar's going to get 3-man ganked and die. He's going to be dead for 30 seconds, and as a result, the enemy team wants to get this tower right. There's also a catapult wave to make this more enticing for them. And so the best thing I can do right now, even though I am doing well, I've got 5.6 at 10. I can free farm up here. Legion's just TP'd away. In fact, this is great for me, for my own farm. But what's going to happen is, if I allow them to hit mid tower and potentially get it, the map is going to cave and my Bristleback and Huskar will pay as a consequence. So I do not want that to happen. So I will gladly give up farm in order to stop them from showing up and killing this tower. And the best thing about the Morphling here is I have too much HP to even care. So I can just TP into 3 heroes. I'm not going to get burst from a stun. It's not going to happen. And so I can stand here, stop the push, prevent this tower from taking significant damage, and then I stay here until I'm pretty much needed to go back top again. And you just abuse this all the time. So if there is a tower you can defend, you have a TP ready, and you're going to give up a bit of farm, but you're definitely going to defend the tower or delay the push, you should do it. The main reason this is really good, I mean, I slightly covered it, you're going to make sure your other cores are farming, but this means you're not 1v9ing in every single game, which is, you know, so many people in so many ranks, myself guilty, you know, if you prioritize your own farm, you may just lose the game, even though you're very farmed. If you can try and spread the farm between 3 heroes, the chance of you winning just goes up. So, the mind games that come with Morphling, what can I say? I've been first picking this every single game, and I will verse these same set of heroes: Drought, Doom, Ancient Apparition, Anti-Mage, Slark, Orchids, Vessels, things that counter agi Morphling. Even during the game, they see I am a Strength Morphling, and they still try and counter me in the agi sense of the hero. You can fuck with a draft so hard. The flex potential is like the craziest I've ever seen, at least until people play this, if they do. It is brutal. Like, the enemy does not expect it. When they do see it, they still don't adjust to it. It is such an advantage in the draft. And like, you'll see many clips here where they try and burst me and stun me like they're going to kill me in one stun, but it just does not work like that. couldn't go too in depth in this video for every little detail about this hero and its playstyle, but if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will also be live as of uploading this video, so if you want to see this, I'm pretty much picking at most games, first pick, and please pop into the chat, ask some questions. I'm even doing free replay analysis. Granted, I don't get too many people asking for it, I'll be happy to do so. And yeah, if there was anything that you think I left out, or you definitely want answered, I will happily answer below. Thanks for watching the video. Cheers.